NHRA Today, Sports Sundays on TNN.
The NASCAR action was at the three-quarter-mile Richmond International Raceway this past weekend, and they ran under the lights the Miller Genuine Draft 400 and the Autolite Platinum 200 Busch Grand National Race. The fans were treated to some fine racing under the lights here at the Richmond International Raceway. Of course, that's where we are, on top of the mellow yellow truck in the garage area. We have a lot for you in this half hour of Inside Winston Cup Racing, and here's what's coming up.
Over the final laps of the Miller Genuine Draft 400, it was Harry Gant and Davey Allison doing it out, but Gant picked up the checkered flag. It was his second in a row, and it was the first time ever here under the lights at the Richmond International Raceway. Well, all the highlights of the Miller Genuine Draft 400 coming up.
There was a lot of excitement at the Autolite Platinum 200, but at the end, it was Harry Gant making it a sweep here in Richmond.
Max Helton brings the motor racing outreach ministry to the Winston Cup garage each weekend. But his Christian duties are not limited to the racetrack. You'll learn how Max blends the clamor of racing with the calm of religion in this popular motorsports ministry.
Today's show is brought to you by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? By Miller Genuine Draft, cold filtered for real draft taste. So get out of the old, get into the cold. And by Goodyear, maker of the world's most successful tires, the Goodyear Eagles.
One manufacturer has more NASCAR victories than anyone. More NHRA Pro Stock victories than anyone. More consecutive IMSA GTO victories at Daytona than anyone. And more off-road victories in the last 5 years than anyone. That manufacturer is Ford. No wonder nobody enjoys the weekend like Ford.
All of these championship-winning drivers have one thing in common: Goodyear Racing Eagles. The race-winning technology that's found in the Goodyear Racing Eagles can also be found in the world's best-selling line of high-performance street tires. Goodyear Eagle Street Radials. The champions know, and it's why we say the best tires in the world have Goodyear written all over them.
Before this, you never heard of cold filtered. Before this, you never heard of genuine draft taste in a bottle. Now hear this. Get out of the old, get into the cold.
Cold filtered taste what it's all about. Never heat pasteurized, so the rich, smooth taste don't cook out. Those who discover its real draft taste, the world can be a very cool place.
Get out of the old, get into the cold. Miller Genuine Draft.
Jane, I'd like you to meet Peter. Peter makes movies.
Features.
We were just talking about this movie that HBO made. It was so intense. Did you make that movie?
No, I didn't.
Oh, are you talking about that HBO movie?
Yeah, really gutsy, huh?
Did you make that?
No, I didn't.
Oh.
It was edgy. No, I didn't make it.
Excuse me. I heard you make movies for HBO?
Yes. Yes, I do.
Powerful, provocative, original movies only on HBO.
And every one of those seats were sold some 2 months before the race was scheduled, produced the largest crowd in the state of Virginia's history. Well, it was an exciting race, and there was some news that came out of here. For more on the news and the highlights of the Miller Genuine Draft 400, let's go to Randy.
Well, Ned, there wasn't a whole lot of news that came out of Richmond, but what did come out of Richmond happened during the first practice session and qualifying, and it was in the first practice session that Brett Bodine had some bad news. Brett, you got together with Lake Speed. I'm sure it wasn't intentional, but you destroyed your short track car. You had to bring out a car that I guess you ran at Darlington. What kind of problems did that present heading into this race?
Well, you know, we came with our best shot. Not saying this car isn't capable of doing well here at Richmond, But, you had a lot of confidence in the car. It's the car we won North Wilkesboro with last year, sat on the pole there this year with it, dominated the race up there. Felt like Richmond, we could really get some things going with that car, and it was fast in practice. Unfortunately, it's not here now. We worked real hard to get this car going. We're still not exactly where we need to be, but we're trying to get it adjusted, and hopefully we can get up towards the front before the race is over with.
Okay, good luck. And not only that, but during qualifying, it was Rusty Wallace on the pole for the second time this season, and he had a lot to accomplish, including a Unical bonus that was worth over $121,000. If Rusty could win the race from the pole, he'd take home a short track record over $175,000 for winning here at Richmond.
Today's Winston Cup highlights are brought to you by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately?
For the second time this season, the sun set as the Winston Cup stars ready to race under the lights. The 65,000 fans that showed at Richmond were all part of a Virginia State record crowd. The Miller Genuine Draft 400 began with Rusty Wallace back in town and up front as the field of 36 poured into turn 1. Rusty and his pole-sitting Pontiac easily paced the pack for the first 57 laps, which were interrupted by cautions brought out by the Kellogg's Cornflakes car of Larry Pearson on lap 12, and then Kenny Schrader in his Kodiak Chevy on lap 19, although Schrader would survive to finish 8th, moving him to 5th in the Winston Cup point standings. One circuit after going green, the third yellow waved when the King and Joe Ruttman collided coming off of turn 4. After the fourth caution in the first 57 laps, the field finally settled down with Dale Earnhardt out front for the restart. After starting 16th, Dale showed the way for 5 laps before Alan Kowicki came along. Rusty Wallace attempted to follow, but drove into Dale's Chevy, sending several scattering. Earnhardt eventually dropped the cylinder and would finish 11th. Kowicki gave way to Ernie Irvin on lap 73. It was not to be their final face-off of the evening. After starting 6th, Ernie drove out front for the next 64 circuits. That's when Mark Martin was forced to flee from his Folgers Ford as a loose brake line caught the car on fire. The team would fix it, but he finished 33rd, putting him out of the points race in 91. Davey dominated after the restart. He and his Haviland Star Ford burned up the track, charging to an 8-second lead, one which he would hold through the halfway mark. Ricky Rudd was never a challenger on the evening, but a consistent run and a 5th-place finish cut 25 points off Earnhardt's lead in the challenge for the Winston Cup. There were 9 different caution flags for 44 laps on the night. Jimmy Spencer almost made it number 10, but instead made the save of the night in turn 2. The wreck of the evening came after Alan Kowicki and Ernie Irvin got back together as the two battled for the front spot with less than 100 laps to go. As the two headed off into turn 1, with Harry Gant hounding them both, Allen got into Ernie, and the eventual winner, Gant, got tagged by Morgan Shepherd. All would continue, none the worse for wear. Over the last 75 laps, it was Allison again out front, but Davey, who led a total of 150 of the 400 laps, was giving up ground to Gant. The two went nose to tail, then door to door, then nose to tail again for over 40 laps. But on lap 381, the two took to the outside of the lap car of Terry Labonte. This time, Gant failed to give way, and Harry went on to back up his Busch win from Friday evening, making the Miller 400 his 3rd NASCAR win in a row, his 2nd Winston Cup win in a row, and 3rd of the season.
It's time now for a short break. Still to come on this edition of Inside Winston Cup Racing is a story on motor racing outreach and its pastor, Max Helton, who provides the ministry in NASCAR Winston Cup Racing. And as we leave you for this break, here's the balance of the finishing order for the Miller Genuine Draft 400.
AT&T is constantly searching for new ways to help our customers save money on long distance.
We run forecasts, we look at profiles, we do comparisons.
And what we've recently discovered is remarkably simple.
We just got the airline tickets, so
Those customers who spend over $11 a month on long distance could start saving right away by signing up for the AT&T Reach Out America plan. If you spend over $11 a month, you could save on long distance too. All it takes is one call to 1-800-447-3280.
AT&T, this is Terry. How can I help you?
Hi, Terry. I was wondering if you could help us save some money on our long-distance calls.
This is about people. We have to put ourselves in the customer's place.
Why don't you tell me a little about the way you use long distance?
Well, we make long-distance calls all day long.
You'll learn how you could save 24 hours a day. 25% on calls made after 5 p.m.
Customers say 25% is a pretty good chunk.
And enjoy discounts on daytime calls.
I guess you could say we're pretty good customers.
who are you talking to?
Terry, would you mind repeating that?
The Reach Out America plan is so easy to use because it helps you save when you call without changing the way you
want to pick
call.
up the phone and be able to call your relatives, your loved ones, and not think how much it's going to cost you.
You can save 24 hours a day. There's a 25% discount in the evenings and a daytime discount as well.
My husband has a sister in Madrid that he calls sometimes.
That's perfect. The plan has a discount on calls all over the world.
What about AT&T calling cards? We each have one.
No problem. The plan lets you save on calls wherever you are.
If you spend over $11 a month on long distance, AT&T can help you save. So call us now at 1-800-447-3280.
Good enough for me.
Thank you for calling AT&T.
Honey, that sounded pretty good. Why don't we sign up?
We just did.
Great. Who do we call?
Call AT&T and learn how to save 25% on long distance.
All day,
Today, you left me high and dry.
all night,
To live alone must be my life. I own the heart that love forgot.
all music. CMT, Country Music Television. All right.
One of the busiest people in motor racing is Max Helton, who is the preacher for Motor Racing Outreach that provides the services and the ministry in auto racing. Now, I'm sure a lot of you out there don't know that there has been a ministry in auto racing for many, many years. And for the last several years, it has been provided by Motor Racing Outreach, and Max Helton has headed that up. And it has been a real godsend to the sport of auto racing, and today we take a look at it.
The joy of the Lord is my strength. The joy of the Lord is my strength. He fills my mouth with laughter.
Each Sunday morning, Max Helton and the Motor Racing Outreach Program provide hundreds of people in the Winston Cup community a peaceful place away from the high-pressured pit stops and the hectic pace put forth by drivers, crew members, and their loved ones. It's a time when tensions are eased and technology and track talk are put aside.
Whoever does not love does not know God, for God is love.
Thank you, Beth. If you notice that 7th verse, it says, "Dear friends, let us love one another, for love comes from God. Everyone who loves has been born of God and knows God." You know, there are
Sunday mornings, it's a good quiet time for us to sit and listen to what Max has to say and really get our heads straight and get ready to go out and race. And the neat thing is there's a lot of drivers that come to these meetings on Sunday morning and on Thursdays, and it gives us time to talk about something other than racing. It's just, again, I stress it's quality time. It's spending time together talking about something and doing something other than just out here at the track competing against each other and talking racing all the time.
The main things we do around the track is just try to encourage people. I try to notice people who are struggling and try to just go up to them and cheer them up a little bit and try to encourage them. I even do that on Sundays up and down pit road, actually, and going by and stopping to see. I know I went by a particular pit this past Sunday of someone, and they were really struggling, and just go by and kind of pat them on the back and try to give them thumbs up and stuff, you know, and and it seems to encourage them somewhat to do that.
There's a verse in Scripture that says that there are people who are gifted to be pastors, and Max Helton is definitely one of those individuals. God has given him an incredible gift for ministry. He knows where people's needs are. He can actually, in a very short period of time, can realize a person's need, whether it be spiritual, emotional, or physical, and he can meet that need many times and get right down to the point of the fact. And I think that's where Max has been such a tremendous influence and a tremendous positive and plus in this garage area, Randy.
But Max's motor racing outreach extends beyond the boundaries of the Winston Cup garage area. He also takes the time during the week to travel directly to the shops, where team members can temporarily turn in their search for speed for their search of salvation.
Work hard so God can say to you, well done, be a good workman, one who does not need to be ashamed when God examines your work. Know what His Word says and means. Steer clear of foolish discussions which lead people into the sin of anger with each other.
All right. Look at that. This is the NIV, and this says, do your best to present yourself to God as one approved, a workman who does not need to be ashamed. So, see, it uses the word here, workman, and the work that we're doing and everything that we do, we need to understand God's Word and how to apply it to building a race team, building a race car. I see a side of racing that most people don't see, because I see them in settings away from the track, such as that, in a common bond, and also even a chapel service where they're like brothers and sisters. You'd never know that they're competitors once they get out, out there. But you see a different side of them on Sunday again, how they can be such good friends and yet still be competitors.
We appreciate your support. We just really appreciate Max and all that he does for all of us. And I don't know what to say, but I'm just thankful to be here and glad we got a good group, and I turn it over to...
I know he means a lot to everybody, but he means a lot to my family especially. I would hate to think that we had to be without him or without our church group, at the races because of our beliefs and, what we stand for.
People saw in Max his realness, and that he truly does love the Lord, and little by little he's gained their confidence and their trust, and it's just expanded into just a large group of people on Sundays, and a relatively large group on Bible study night. That's kind of a harder commitment to make, but it's been exciting to see the Lord work.
The toughest part of my job is to inform a wife or family that a loved one has died or has been killed in an accident. That has occurred, as you know, over the past few years in Atlanta and as well as Watkins Glen. And that's tough. I've had people come to me and say, well, that's part of your job. I don't care if it's part of your job or not. I still feel very personal about it. And it's hard sometimes to not really cry and be emotional about it because I feel for these families very much so, and it's really tough. That's probably the toughest thing I have to do.
In good times and bad, Max is always there, a pillar of strength in our weakest of times. Max is a friend.
It's tough to maintain any kind of a normal family life in the sport of auto racing because we're away from home so much, some 34 or 35 weekends a year. And certainly we can't attend our own church that much. So the church services that we have here and the counseling that is offered is a godsend to all of us in the sport of auto racing. Thank God for it. We need to take a short break. Still to come are highlights of the Busch Grand Nationals, an exciting race here at Richmond. Stay with us.
Some hard knocks and plenty of close competition marked the Autolite Platinum 200 in Richmond. When the dust settled, it was Harry Gant beating Robert Presley for the first of 2 wins on the weekend. Those highlights just ahead.
Fact: Ford offers performance that's supercharged and turbocharged. Fact: Ford offers 16, even 24 valve engines. Fact: Mustang GT, Pro GT, Thunderbird SC, Escort GT, and Taurus SHO make up the best-selling line of performance cars, American or import. Call it leadership, call it winning. The simple fact is, Ford is number one. Have you driven a Ford lately?
Where can you go on Goodyear Wrangler radials? So where can you go on Goodyear Wrangler radials? Just about anywhere you want. Put on a set of Goodyear Wrangler radials, and you'll know why we say the best tires in the world have Goodyear written all over them.
Full roast out here. We're 1,000 miles from anywhere. Is that a ship? No one will save us.
3 Miller Genuine Drafts.
Cold filtered Miller Genuine Draft. For those who've discovered its real draft taste, the world is a very cool place. This is a brand new $18,000 car. Put in a leading motor oil. This is an identical new car. Put in Mobil 1. Start them up and drive. Under extreme conditions, temperatures inside your engine can reach 570 degrees. Of course, Mobil 1 costs more, but then under extreme conditions, look at what can happen to conventional motor oil. Mobil 1. Isn't your car worth the extra protection?
This week, Nashville Now stars Don Williams, Kitty Wells, Larry Boone, Hal Ketchum, and Gene Watson. Live this week on Nashville Now.
Kenny Schrader captured his second victory of 1991 by winning the Budweiser 500 at Dover during the spring. We'll see who conquered the Monster Mile this time when we bring you all the highlights of the Peak 500 next week.
And the Busch Grand National Division will tackle the tough 1 mile oval in Dover. We'll have all the action from the Splitfire 200 as well.
This Tuesday night, September 17th, it's the second annual NHRA Winston Cup All-Star Softball Game. It will be held at Knight Stadium outside of Charlotte, North Carolina, to benefit the Miami Project and the J.D. McDuffie Fund. The Winston Cup stars will be looking for revenge after last year's one-run loss. We'll have the highlights next week.
Well, the NASCAR Busch Grand Nationals ran the Autolite Platinum 200 here at the Richmond International Raceway on Friday night. And the qualifying was very interesting because the 2-point leaders were up on the front row and our Dan Kenyon was there.
Well, Ned, it's an awful tight battle for the Busch Grand National points title. Only 1 point separates Kenny Wallace from Bobby Labonte. Kenny Wallace starts this race second. Bobby picks up his first pole of the season. What kind of race do we look for tonight?
Wow, I don't know. First pole, man, I'm pretty excited. But hopefully we just need to keep all 4 tires on the ground and just stay where we're at and hopefully for a good night.
Bobby Labonte and the rest of the field took to the temporarily lit Richmond Raceway for the running of the Autolite Platinum 200. The green was out and the race was on. Labonte was on the pole, but Kenny Wallace dove underneath on the second lap and shot in front. Tommy Houston brought out the first yellow with this spin on the backstretch. The second caution flew for this accident involving Elton Sawyer, Troy Beebe, and Richard Lassiter. In the meantime, Dale Earnhardt had pushed his Chevy to the front 10 laps into the event. He and Kenny Wallace then staged a tremendous show, exchanging the number 1 position 6 times. Chuck Bound had his problems all night. He finished the race 51 laps down. On lap 42, there was some debris on the track. Kenny Wallace ran it over and had problems the rest of the evening. On lap 57, Todd Bodine hit the wall hard on the backstretch. He was done for the night. On lap 82, Dale Jarrett moved to the front for a long stint of 48 laps. Michael Waltrip had his hands full as Robert Presley was giving him everything he had. At the halfway point, it was Jarrett, Michael Waltrip, Robert Presley, Earnhardt, and Ernie Irvan. On lap 114, Bobby Labonte got lapped and now was only 1 lap ahead of Kenny Wallace, who'd gone 2 laps down. Darrell Waltrip took over as race leader on lap 139. Lap 157 and Robert Presley was in front. It was short-lived, however. Ward Burton took command on lap 158. A later caution brought all the leaders in for a splash of gas and fresh tires. The first one out, handsome Harry Gant, who had started the race 29th. With 10 laps to go, Ed Barrier brought out the second red flag of the night as he tagged the turn 2 wall. Harry Gant's crew chief didn't like the call at all as they had started to pull away. Nonetheless, Harry Gant took home the checkers despite a hard-charging Robert Presley. It was Gant's second win at Richmond this season.
they keep telling me on the radio all the time I'm running as quick as a leader. I was running 15th, but I run as quick as the leaders, you know. So then I started picking them up. Then we made a long run, and I passed, you know, Earnhardt and a lot of cars and got up on the board there. Then we pitted, and we got back out ahead a lot of them. It really made a difference.
Today's mailbox is brought to you by Miller Genuine Draft.
And our question today comes from Sharon Latala of Ontonagon, Michigan, who writes, next year my son will graduate from college in auto mechanics, and we'd like to know what kind of qualifications a person must have to get into a pit crew, and how does he try out? Well, Sharon, for that answer, we'll go to Steve Hmiel, who is the team manager of the Folgers Ford that Mark Martin drives.
That's an excellent question, Sharon. A lot of people ask that. Almost everywhere we go, somebody's interested in getting into Winston Cup racing. And the thing I try to explain to people is that first you have to have good basic mechanical skills. You know, farm boys are real good. People have been around tractors, people whose dads have raced, people whose dads have worked on cars. They all seem to have the basic skills necessary to do it. But far and above, the biggest thing you have to have is perseverance. You're going to knock on a lot of doors. You're going to make a lot of phone calls. A lot of people are going to make you feel bad because they'll make you understand you don't have the experience base that will allow you to become a Winston Cup mechanic. But if you want to race, get out, work at the local racetrack, and move on up. And, boy, like I said, knock on doors, and you'll end up kicking down doors, and finally you'll get in. But it's going to be real hard on you.
If you have any race questions, you can write to us at Inside Winston Cup Racing, Box 240-417, Charlotte 28224. If we use your question on the air, you'll receive this embroidered Miller Genuine Draft jacket free. Fans 21 and under will receive an IWCR cap and T-shirt.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. Hope you enjoyed the show, and you be sure to be with us here next week when we'll come to you from Dover, Delaware. We'll see you then here on TNN.
It's the real.
Today's show has been brought to you by Ford and your local Ford dealer. Winning the world over with 1991 trucks that are built Ford tough. By Miller Genuine Draft, cold filtered for real draft taste. So get out of the old, get into the cold. And by Goodyear, maker of the world's most successful tires, the Goodyear Eagles. Inside Winston Cup clothing provided in part by Sports Image Incorporated, suppliers of quality racing apparel. Communications for Inside Winston Cup Racing crew provided by Racing Radios, Forest Park, Georgia, the official communications of NASCAR. Transportation for Inside Winston Cup Racing provided by Fleetwood Enterprises, makers of a full line of excellent recreational vehicles. And by your Carolina Ford dealers. Nobody outsells Ford in the Carolinas.
Years in the business, as it's often called, taught me one thing. When you're trying to say something and get a certain feeling across, it's got to come from here, or it just gets lost. Country music does that. That's why TNN is the heart of country.
We all know how much fun playing the guitar can be, but until now, learning meant months of tedious lessons costing hundreds of dollars and getting limited results. Well, no more. Now you can learn to play any guitar in only 30 days. In fact, you'll actually be playing from the very first day, even if you've never held a guitar before. How's it possible? With the revolutionary Guitar Today video program. Rock, country, folk, pop, or jazz, you'll be playing guitar from the very first day.
When I first heard about the Guitar Today video, I was skeptical. But I tried it, and now I'm playing electric guitar in my own band.
I ordered the tape for my son, and he played his first song in only one day. Then my daughter used the program, and she did just as well. Now my husband is showing off with how well he plays.
Use your credit card and order your 2-hour videotape and instructional workbook for only $29.95 plus $3.95 shipping. Call now at 1-800-257-0800 or send your check to the address shown. Sorry, no CODs.
Neil Bonnet has the winners. Sports Sundays on TNN.